Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of the Winter Meetings. I am your host, Seven. I will be bringing on my co-host, Stefan, here in just a moment. Craig is out this evening, still on assignment. But as we start off, of course, as always, I do want to give a special thank you to our sponsor, Gunslinger Soap. Gunslinger Soap, handmade soaps and beard products made without all the junk to pamper your skin. You can go to their website, gunslingersoap.com, and sign up to get 15% off of your first order and always free shipping over $30. That's gunslingersoap.com. I've been using their products for years, and that is what you see here. This is their original Gunslinger. All of their soaps are made with activated charcoal, great for your skin. Definitely check them out. Owned by a firefighter and a dad. Great guy. A lot of stuff goes to charity off of it, so definitely support them. Let me bring in my co-host with the most, Stefan Weaver. How you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm fine, thank you, Seven. How are you?
Doing great. It's been an interesting week in baseball.
Yeah, I am raring to go. Let's do it.
Me too. Okay, so let's go ahead and start off with the Fernando Tatis Jr. news. For those of you that are not aware, it was announced this week, Tatis has been suspended for 80 games for testing positive for performance-enhancing drug as a synthetic steroid called cloestibol, I think is what it was called. He said that it was in a medication that he was taking for ringworm, and he did express regret based on the information. He will miss the rest of this season, 42 games into next season as well. What are your thoughts on this, buddy?
Oh, I think it's crazy. I mean, if he's been paying attention, he knows that right now, despite whatever career he has, his Hall of Fame aspirations are over with. And that's a legacy that will never be removed. He'll be stained for life.
Yeah, you're right. You're exactly right. That is going to follow him for the rest of his career. I mean, he's one of the hottest young talents in Major League Baseball. And to have that come up on his name, especially this early in his career, that's a huge blow. That is a huge blow to him. That is a huge blow to his legacy. I mean, it's going to take a lot.
Huge blow to the Padres.
It is, and it isn't. And, you know, that there was, and I'll say it isn't for the rest of this season because, you know, when he tested positive, he was still rehabbing in AA.
Right.
And there was a lot of questions as to whether or not he was going to even make it back this year. Because of, you know, the injuries that he was dealing with. Not the ringworm, of course, but there was, you know, the injuries that he had been out for originally, and so now, you know, with these big trades that the Padres made, they now don't have to have any questions in their lineup. They can set it and run.
They don't have to pay him, right? I mean, he's on the restricted list, so he doesn't get paid.
Yeah, he does not get paid. So I mean, this saves San Diego some money for these games, and you know, he's no longer getting the guaranteed money that he gets even when he's injured. He's getting nothing.
Right.
You know, and it's, you know, and I try to believe players and take him at their word, and especially with a guy that's as young as Tatis, you know, he has, you know, and that it was a mistake and was not intentional to consume that substance. But he should have told the trainers, you know, so let's, you know, treating it like this was an honest mistake from a young player, which it's entirely possible. You know, the team should have known what was going on. They would have given him a medication that was not going to have him pop positive for any banned substance, and he would be working his way back. Stupid mistake. At the minimum, stupid mistake.
I think he did know that what was in it, because when you're a highly finely tuned athlete, you'd know everything that goes in your body.
You should. And that's the key thing, is you should. You know, there's these young kids that like to think that they know everything and that, you know, they're going to be fine. Oh, it's just a ringworm medication. What could it be? You know, let's say he just, you know, had somebody go to Walmart and get him some Lotrimin. Guess what? There's a chance that's gonna pop positive for a banned substance.
And, yeah, but you'd think his dad would have. He'd learned something from his dad.
And that's the other thing that's interesting about this is his dad did test positive during the steroid era. Who did his dad play for? I can't remember. Do you remember?
I don't. Was it the Padres also?
You know what? I'm going to look real quick because I think, part of me is wondering.
I think it was the Padres also.
Mets.
Oh, Mets.
He might have spent some time with the Padres, but I know he wrapped up his career with the Mets. Let me look. No, he did not ever play for the Padres. It was Rangers, Cardinals, Nats, 1 year with the Orioles, and then the Mets.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's just, and I do feel bad for him. Nobody ever wants to have something like that, put on their name, if it wasn't something intentional. And that's, like I said, that's how I'm trying to treat it. I think that's, the right thing to do. Now, if we see something pop up multiple times, or, something gets unearthed that was Jeter-esque Aroyd-esque in its cover-up levels, then, yeah, you got to start asking some questions. But for an honest mistake, this is a pretty
give him the benefit of the doubt, right?
Yeah, I mean, and the truth of the matter is really what steroids are about is their recovery. That's what they help with. That's the most important piece. For those of you that don't know, when professional athletes are taking steroids, it's about the recovery so that they can get to that next level and get past the plateau. Well,
especially pitchers.
Yeah, especially pitchers. And so if he was just taking something to help with his recovery and he didn't realize it was in there, or he knew it was in there, didn't think it would come up, that's a tough blow because, that's going to follow him for the rest of his career. There's always going to be haters now, always going to be doubters. It's going to be more difficult for him to get awards like MVP,
and endorsements.
Endorsements. Too. Yeah, that has a long-term financial impact for him. And it's disappointing, but it is what it is.
And then we heard that ridiculous statement, obviously written by his agent, because it's the same statement we hear from every ball player that gets caught with steroids. Word for word.
You've got to have just like a form letter that they all share. They just fill in, I'm sorry I tested positive for insert steroid name. It was in a substance I was taking for insert injury. It's hard to verify.
That's funny.
I mean, seriously, you're right though. Like when you said that in the group chat, I was like, yeah. That's exactly. It's the only thing that makes sense, and it doesn't make sense at the same time. So I mean, I don't know. But I do think so. We'll go ahead and talk standings next because this will kind of segue into it. So when you look at standings for the league right now, of course, there's no way that you're going to see the Padres take their division because that's, they're in the same division as the Dodgers, and the Dodgers have a 16-game lead on them right now. But right now they're pretty comfortably in wild card position. Well, okay, I guess not comfortably. They're about a half game up.
But also, oddly enough, from what I've been paying attention to the standings, since the suspension, they've actually won some games.
They have. So the suspension was announced. Yeah, because they would end up the day that the game they were facing it was the first game in a 3-game set against the Nationals. They won that game 10-5, lost the next one, and then they won yesterday 6-0 against the Nats. And they play the Marlins. They're off today. They play the Marlins tomorrow. We're going to see them in the postseason, but I do. Go ahead.
Soto's been playing pretty well.
He wanted to get out of Washington.
I bet. Yeah.
It's it's solidified to me in the fact that even before the Padres were attempting to trade Hosmer to the Nationals to get Soto, the Nationals were already on his no-fly list. Like it's instant decline. you know? And so I think that that was, they were, and just like, you know, they're still covering most of his salary with Boston, but the Padres were going to cover his entire salary. If he went to the Nationals in that trade that landed them Soto. So it's,
I wonder why no one wants to go to the Nationals. I mean, they were in the World Series 2 years ago. They won the World Series 2 years ago. Is it their management?
I think so. It's got to be the organization itself. That's the only thing that makes sense to me, because you're not in a bad market. That park is not bad to play baseball in.
Interesting.
You know, at least from my experience, you know, it's got to be an organizational thing to me. Maybe just too close to the politics, you know. That's the only,
yeah.
I mean, that's the other thing. But obviously, for Hosmer's sake, he ended up much better off because of that, because he's thriving in Boston.
Right.
And I think
that's as his fam.
Absolutely, as his fam. I still haven't written Boston out of the wild card slot yet, and that's kind of where, you know, that's one of the things that I wanted to talk about. You know, when you look at wild card standings right now for the American League, you've got Boston is 5 games back, but the teams that they're behind right now, you know, they're 5 games out of wild card, but they're 3 games behind the White Sox, which the White Sox are going to continue to struggle and fall. The Twins, they're 2 games back from the Twins, and the Guardians have actually been surging ahead. This was, I had the Twins picked to take the Central, but with the way that the Guardians are playing, they're 7-3 in their last 10, whereas the Twins are 4-6 in their last 10. I could very feasibly see the Twins continue to tumble and the Guardians continue to surge.
Mm-hmm.
And
the Tito factor.
Yep.
Got the Tito factor.
And then the Rays and the Orioles are the other 2 teams right now. The Rays, the Mariners, and the Orioles, and the Jays are the other teams that would be ahead of Boston in that sense. And this is crunch time. And this is when the Rays start to struggle consistently.
And plus the thing is, most of those other teams have had their long streaks already. The Red Sox have not had a long winning streak. So they're due for like a rip 9 off.
And that's the thing. And I think that there's been a lot of there's been a lot of inconsistencies with the pitching in Boston that they've been struggling with. But Cutter Crawford is starting to settle in very well. Obviously, he's doing, you know, did great yesterday despite the loss. Or is he the one that's pitching today?
No, Walker pitched today. He pitched yesterday.
Yeah,
right.
Okay. Yeah, okay. You know, despite the loss, that was still a great game.
It was.
And I think one of the things that's going to help Boston move up in the standings is the Yankees are struggling right now. You know, who knew that when you traded away Joey Gallo, you started to lose? Last I knew, the Dodgers were undefeated since they grabbed Joey Gallo at the trade deadline. And they traded him away for a AA pitcher. Make it make sense, Stefan. Like, you played the game professionally, so maybe you can help me understand. Like, is this a locker room thing? Like, make it make sense, man.
It might well be. I mean, I haven't heard anything negative about Gallo's personality in the locker room. I mean, usually if something happens in New York, we all hear about it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think if he was a negative influence, I think we'd have heard about it.
I mean, that's a fair assumption. I could pick that up. You know, in now, of course, the Dodgers are the Dodgers, and that's, you know, we've called this lineup that they've been running all year. They're when everybody's healthy lineup. It's Murderers Row 2.0 when you look at the bats. So it could just be that it's just a timing thing. The Yankees are you know, they held the best record in baseball from April until a couple of weeks ago, or until within the last week or so. Like it's been recent, and that's hard work. Like, and respect to the Yankees for everything that they've done so far this year. And I say that as a Red Sox fan, begrudgingly.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they've played their asses off this year. And you know, they've got several players. Cole, a lot of people did not think Cole was going to be able to recover, but he's done marginally better than expected. Excuse me. And Judge, obviously, we're going to be talking about him when we have MVP picks here. When we talk about MVP picks here in a little bit.
Rizzo's been doing all right.
Rizzo, New York has done very well for him. I'm very happy for him. I wanted Boston to grab him, but obviously, he still has fared well in the New York hustle and bustle and New York lights, if you will.
Where that short right porch, he has to love that.
Oh, what hitter does not love? What?
Yeah, what right-handed, what left-handed hitter? You're right.
I mean, yeah, what lefty like? Hosmer's probably not hating it at all right now. I wouldn't be surprised if Hosmer's gotten a home run while they've been in New York. In fact, I'm certain
Judge hits the right field anyway, so he loves it too.
And for Judge, because of the fact that that's the direction that he hits naturally, I think that's one of the things that's helping his numbers. But at the same time, it's not his fault that they built that. I mean, you still got to do it. You still got to see it. And hitting a baseball is the hardest thing to do in professional sports. Mm-hmm. So, we've
unless
got
I'm
to
throwing
respect it. I was going to leave that out, but if you're going to offer it up, yes.
Hey.
But no, it's but no, it's hey, you've got a better ERA than Albert Pujols, so
yes.
You've got that going.
And probably always will. But one thing is, he'll be in the Hall. I don't think I will, unless there's a really liberal veterans committee.
I mean, sometime. I was thinking about something because you watched the Field of Dreams game, right?
I did not.
Okay, so did you watch it last year?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know how last year they talked about the actual Moonlight Grant, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this year they talked about a guy that played for the Dodgers that ended up going over to Vietnam. He got one at bat, has a 1,000 batting average for his career. He got one at bat, and then he ended up getting drafted and going over to Vietnam, and he never was able to make it back to the professional stage.
What was his name?
Oh, I can't remember. I can't remember off the top of my head, but they were talking about it, and they said that of the 12 players in Major League Baseball that only got one at bat and got a hit, 5 of them were alive, and one of them was this guy. He ended up getting a Purple Heart because of his time in Vietnam and getting injured.
That's almost better than getting any baseball award.
Well, he ended up the Dodgers did end up giving him, because the Dodgers won the World Series the year that he had that one at bat, and he did get a ring. Oh,
good for them.
So I mean, he got which I mean, that's good for them for doing the right thing at that point. And
speaking of Dodgers, they have excellent pitching too. I mean, they got Kershaw, they got Urias, they got Gonsolin. Yeah, they can.
Gonsolin, I was looking at Gonsolin's numbers today, and we're going to be talking about him when we go through our picks, because I actually have him picked as my Cy Young winner. Hey, what's up, Will? Will Morgan, everybody, host of the Sports Report. Catch me there tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Eastern. Run on the Sports Report YouTube channel. But I have Gonsolin for my Cy Young, because if you look at his numbers, he is playing stellar. He's throwing stellar baseball right now.
How many times do relievers win a Cy Young, though? I mean, that doesn't happen very often.
He's starting.
Oh, he's starting.
Yeah, he's starting this year, and that's why. And that's why when I started looking at the numbers, he rose to my list very quick, to the top of my list.
Yeah, he throws about 100.
He's got some heat on him. But okay, so standings wise, we talked a lot about the American League. When we look at the National League standings for the wild card, like I said, I think the Padres are going to stay up there. The Brewers are 1.5 games out. The Giants are 6 games out. Sorry to Craig. I don't think the Giants are going to recover. I'm just not seeing anything consistently out of them. And honestly, the Brewers are the ones that are the closest. They're 1.5 games back. They're 4-6 out of their last 10. And they have not, they have come out of the All-Star break, kind of like the Yankees. They have not been performing.
Yeah, I still think the Cardinals are going to win that division.
Absolutely. And with the fact that the Brewers right now are out of wild card contention, even like, I mean, I can't. I it's possible that the Brewers make it. It is possible. They're not mathematically eliminated or anything, but I don't expect it. But they are also, they're still only 1.5 games behind the Cardinals. So anything is possible, but the Cardinals are on a hot streak, 7-3 in their last 10. I think they take their division. But okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is we are going to talk about our picks for some of the big awards this year that are coming, just some too soon predictions, if you will. We are going to talk American League and National League award winners, our predictions for MVP, Cy Young, and Rookie of the Year. I will start with my picks for those two. My American League MVP, or no, let's start with Rookie of the Year. We're going to start with that. We'll work to MVP. That'll be the last time we do. So my pick for Rookie of the Year for American League, I'm going with Bobby Witt Jr., but I'm also biased because I picked him to start the season. But Julio Rodriguez of the Mariners gets an honorable mention. Because he is putting up some stellar numbers with the Mariners.
Mariners are tough.
They are a tough team. That's one of the reasons why I'm so on the fence about Boston bouncing back in and making it to the playoffs, because the Mariners are one of those teams that they've got to work against.
Yep.
And
we don't play them
in the last. No, we don't. And they are 5-5 in their last 10, so anything is possible. They are kind of starting to fizzle out a little bit, if you will. But there are a lot of statistics in the Mariners' favor for them going deep into the postseason this year.
But like I said, the Red Sox just need to whip off like 9 in a row or something. They'll be right in it.
And I think that, yeah, I happen to agree. And I think as long as they can hold out tonight, win this series against New York, that puts them in I think it's a confidence builder for them to start trending in the right direction. What do you think?
Plus, they're getting some guys healthy too. Like Walker's back tonight. He pitched great. Houck, I think, is coming back.
Yeah, he's on his way
not
back.
Having him. What?
Yeah. Houck is on his way back.
Oh,
yeah, he's on his way back. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that'll help.
I think he's slated to be back with the team next week. I'm pretty sure he pitched a rehab start the other day. But yeah, and let me see here. I'm trying to get, and I think you picked, I'm looking at your picks right now. You had picked Bobby for the American
Rookie
League
of the Year.
And you said two Cubbies in the National League, Seiya Suzuki and Christopher Morel, with O'Neal Cruz and Brendan Donovan getting votes. O'Neal Cruz is a good choice.
Yeah.
Really.
Well, that's because I have Google.
Yeah. It's honestly though, I went a little off the wall because I know it doesn't happen very often with pitchers getting Rookie of the Year, but I like Spencer Strider.
Okay.
He is a starting pitcher with the Braves, right-hander.
Wait, are we in the American League? Oh no, he switches
National League.
Okay.
Yeah, we're on National League now. Let me pull his numbers back up, because when I was looking at his numbers, he is 6-4 for his win-loss. He only has a 3.11 ERA.
Nice.
Which and then 138 strikeouts this year off of. So he's played in 24 games, but 13 starts. His whip is 1.05.
Nice. I think whip is a very underrated stat. I mean, it's so important.
It is.
The amount of traffic you have on base.
And another thing, when you think about, so he's pitched, he's 89 points, so 89 and 2/3 innings as a rookie, and he's only given up 5 home runs.
Wow.
That was, as I was looking through like some of the hottest the hottest rookies right now that everybody's kind of taking a look at, and a lot of these awards are voted on by the, I think in all of these are voted on by the Baseball Writers Association, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And a lot of writers have actually mentioned him as far as one of the hotter prospects, and that's what makes me lean towards Spencer Strider. But
if he's only giving up 5 home runs, and you look on the opposite side, Eovaldi's giving up 19. Of course, he's got more innings, but
right. But 89 and 2/3 innings he's played in.
Red Sox won.
They did win it. Won. Okay. 89 and 2/3 innings pitched, only 5 home runs. He's played, it was 24 games. When I was looking at starting pitchers, most of those starters have only been have been in less than 25 games as well. Have actually been in less. Like the ones that I'm looking at, like 21, 22 for starters. So he's putting work in. He's put work in this year, and he's getting results.
Yep.
And 138 strikeouts, stellar arm. Definitely my pick. Okay, so let's go ahead and work up to Cy Young. I got Verlander.
Gonsolin in the NL. You said Gonsolin in the NL?
Gonsolin in the NL. Yeah, Tony Gonsolin in the NL of the Dodgers. And we'll start with him. Give me just a second. Let me get his numbers back in front of me. So he has started 21 games. Okay, and this Dodgers starter Tony Gonsolin, 21 games started, 116.1 innings pitched. Has given up 11 home runs. So 27, we'll call it 27 more innings, 6 home runs. That's 3 games, basically 3 full games of innings, 6 home runs. Only 105 strikeouts, but he has one of the lowest ERAs in baseball right now. It's at 2.24. And his whip is only 0.89.
Yeah, nowadays anything under 4, correct? The way the home runs are being hit.
You want your starters under 4 at least. Absolutely.
Yes, but you don't see that all the time.
No, it's not as and I think that's just because we're seeing a lot more offense. Teams are working harder to make sure that they can get the ball into play, even with the shifts. Guys are getting better at directional hitting, which I think is an interesting piece for when we get rid of the shift, like what's going to happen with that. Pitchers are giving up more runs than they used to. So for him to be with a whip of under 1, ERA under 3, under 2.5, like that's with all of the work that he's put in. 21 games started, he's got a 14-1 record.
Gonsolin?
Gonsolin has a 14-1 record this year. He's tied for second for best record in in the league. And
that's
you
impressive.
picked, absolutely.
I picked who did I pick? I know I had Darvish getting some votes.
Darvish is gonna,
I think Kershaw gets some votes too.
I think you're right on both of those. And you said Alcantara.
All right.
You said
I'm going to stick with that.
And that's a good choice. Alcantara, I could really see that. When I was doing research on pitchers, his name was up there. I had him, and the other one, and no, we'll talk about him next. Okay, and then for the American League, I had Verlander, and I think you had the same.
Yes, obviously.
I want to get, and one of the things Verlander has some stellar numbers, 15-3. He does have the best record of all pitchers, a 1.85 ERA, which is first, 0.86 whips. He has the lowest whip in the majors, 134 strikeouts, so he's tied for 15th among all starters or among all pitchers.
For those of you not sure what whip is, it's walks and hits per inning pitched.
Yeah,
walks and hits per innings pitched.
Kind of like golf, you want the lowest score possible.
Yes.
But I also I went with Verlander, but I actually had to take some time on this because Dylan Cease of the White Sox is having one hell of a season.
Yes, he is.
174 strikeouts. That's third in the majors across all pitchers. 1.96 ERA, second only to Verlander. 12-5 on the year.
The only difference is, I mean, Verlander's team is doing much better.
And I think that has an impact on it because run support in Chicago right now for the White Sox is not what it should be. And I think that's one of the reasons, and I think you and I have kind of talked about this. For pitchers, especially starters, the win-loss record is not looked at as much as it used to be.
Right.
Because teams have
just too many variables. Your defense, the team you're playing, how you feel that day. Yeah, you don't really know. I mean,
you could give up one run in 3 hits across 7 innings and still lose a game.
And lose. Yep.
Yeah. And that's why it's really hard. Like, you want to give me win-loss record? The coaches. Absolutely the coaches. But a pitcher doesn't have control. I mean, they have control over what they do. And yes, sometimes you do have situations like, the Red Sox pitching struggles. They have been giving up some runs, but they haven't given up a lot of runs. And if they had more run support, which is why we're starting to see Boston trend up, once they replaced their 2 worst bats in the lineup, JBJ and Bobby Dahlbeck.
Right.
And, even when you with Pham and Hosmer, I'm not, and these guys aren't 300 hitters, but they're 250 hitters. And that's better than sub 200 for both of those guys.
Although I'm willing to bet that Pham is hitting 300 with the Red Sox since he got there.
I could believe that. Hold on. Let's see, because
I love this. I love when the Red Sox announcers say, well, the Red Sox have they win most games when they score 6 runs or more. Well, that's every team.
What team doesn't?
Exactly.
Oh wait, hold on. Let's see, 29 at bats. I mean, his average on the season is 242. Wait, you know what? Let's see what StatMuse says. StatMuse is a site that I personally recommend to look up stats.
StatMuse?
StatMuse.com. Great site. And he is only hitting 224 with Boston, but he has 7 extra base hits.
Yeah, he's got some big hits.
3 home runs, 9 RBIs across 11 games.
And playing a pretty good left field.
Yeah, stellar defense. And he's a good outfielder anyway.
Yeah, and plus, I mean, he's just a solid hitter. He's going to hit.
Yeah. He'll get stuff into play. And like I said, 7 extra base hits. Tommy Pham, his speed is one of the advantages of Tommy Pham because he is quick. And that's why he's great in the outfield, because he can get on the ball quicker. And that's why he's great on the base path, because he's going to move his ass. And I think that's amazing. Okay. So we did Cy Young. Okay, so let's go ahead and move into the MVP race. So we'll start with the National League we'll go ahead and get the American League out of the way, because this one is, I don't think there's any way that anybody can go against us at this point. And I know you and I were
hold on. You're cutting out 7.
Uh-oh. You doing a little better now?
Maybe it's my phone. I don't know.
Okay, so American League MVP, we were both on the same page on this. Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge is hitting 303 this year. That's 10th in the league across all qualified hitters. First in home runs at 46, first in RBIs at 100, and his OPS is 1.086. Again, first in the majors.
I'm sorry, you cut up. Who are you talking about?
Aaron Judge, AL MVP. Aaron Judge. Right. Yeah, we were both on the same page on that one. Aaron Judge is having a career year. And to his credit, he also happens to be having it in a contract year.
And to his credit, he's a great outfielder.
Oh, yeah.
And a great outfielder.
He's built like a tight end and covers so much space. So much space. And when I say built like a tight end, keep in mind 6'7", 282 pounds.
It's like a white Dave Winfield.
Yeah. That's yeah. Only 30 years old. So, I mean, especially being a fielder, you can sign him to a 10-year deal and front load the first 5.
Definitely.
And then years 7 through 10 are all option years. I don't care who it is that has the option. It'd probably be him.
All you want to do is win one World Series and it's a successful deal.
1, 2 if you're lucky, and they've got enough young talent coming up that I think 2 is realistic if he stays with the Yankees.
Right.
But
that's a big if, though.
That's a big if, and we've kind of talked about this with Aaron Judge. You know, I think what's going to make or break him staying in New York, I think the price tag for him staying in New York is going to be higher the worse the roster is.
Right.
Because he's like, I want to win World Series, but if you're not going to give me a team that's going to win a World Series, you're going to pay me. You're either paying a team that's going to win or you're paying me.
Kind of like Ohtani, same situation.
And I don't think he stays. And Ohtani will get some votes for MVP, of course, because he's just the talent of a generation. But honestly, I think if Judge wasn't having as much of a career year as he's having, I think it would be between Shohei and Devers.
Yep.
Yeah. But, you know.
Speaking of which, Devers hit a 2-run home run tonight to ice the game.
I saw that, yeah. I saw
Walker is now 7-1.
Such a fantastic. And I'm really frustrated that he's back up because I have him. He's one of my pitchers in fantasy baseball, and I've been sitting on him in the IL, waiting for him to come back. I didn't realize he came back, so I didn't activate him. So I don't get credit for anything that he did tonight. It pisses me off.
I bet.
But no, it's and I'm happy that the Sox are doing well, really. But okay, so Aaron Judge for American League MVP. So now let's talk National League MVP. And I was honestly kind of stuck on this. I got it down to 2. But we'll talk about.
I got it down to 2
first.
also.
Yeah, I think you did.
I got Wolfschmidt and Alonso.
Goldschmidt and Alonso. Paul Goldschmidt.
But I gave it to Goldschmidt because of his fielding.
Paul Goldschmidt of the St. Louis Cardinals. Pete Alonso of the Mets. Pete Alonso, of course, won the home run derby, not this year, but the last year and the year before. Has had a stellar season this year. Alonso is hitting 281, 29 home runs, 97 RBIs, second. He's actually second behind Judge on that. OPS is 898. That's 9th across all qualified hitters. Absolutely amazing first baseman, by the way. And the Mets are doing really well.
New York if it weren't for Judge.
I can agree with that. Well, but that's really kind of difficult still because you still have DeGrom and Scherzer on the pitching rotation on that roster. But I mean, as far as hitters are concerned, absolutely Pete Alonso would be the top if not for Judge's season. But I don't know. I don't know that I could call him the top if Judge, just simply because of DeGrom and Scherzer, which are both having stellar years since they came back. I think if they had full seasons, we'd be talking about Cy Young for both of them.
Definitely.
And then my picks.
Bassett threw a shutter against him. He's been pitching great.
Bassett has. And that's the thing, is their rotation is dialing in now. And that is very, very bad news for the rest of the National League. Because if they're hot going into the playoffs, we will see the Mets in the World Series. Yes. And not the Dodgers. And that's the thing is I think it could come down to whoever wins out of the Mets and the Dodgers, whatever round they face, that's who's going to the World Series for the National League.
Yeah, if you have two pitchers like DeGrom and Scherzer, that's going to be tough to beat in any series.
They were one of the top teams in baseball with DeGrom and Scherzer out. That's how good that roster is.
Right.
And that's what scares me about the Mets when you think about the lineup in the National League. The Dodgers are in prime position, but the Nets or the Mets are their spoiler, 100%.
Plus, I think the Mets have maybe a better manager.
Agreed. You and I are both on the same page on that. We both like Buck Showalter, and I feel like it's time for him to get his ring.
Yes.
I definitely do. I like him. He's gotten so many teams ready, and then they moved on before he could get him over the hump when they were right there. It's his turn. Right. I legitimately feel like it's his turn.
Yep.
If not this year, then next year. They're right there. They've got a solid roster for a couple of years. I don't think they're going to go through a lot of big changes in the offseason. So the Mets are going to be in the forefront of the National League for at least a couple of years.
Yeah, Lindor's having a great year too.
Absolutely. And it's Lindor. He's a great hitter anyway, but stellar season this year. He
struggled last year, I think.
He did.
I think he struggled a little last year.
He was hurt a little bit last year, and I know he hit south of 250, I think, for a while. But he's doing well this year, and that's a benefit for the Mets because they need him.
Right.
My picks, so I got stuck on Goldschmidt and Freddie Freeman.
Yeah, he's having a great year too.
So let's talk. Hold on here. Let me get Goldschmidt's numbers back.
Let's just give it to Goldschmidt.
I think Goldschmidt is kind of where we're agreeing on. And he's hitting 328, 28 home runs, 89 RBIs this season, a 1.026 OPS, which is third across all qualified batters.
And a Gold Glove first baseman.
Absolutely. And I know we had kind of discussed talking about Gold Gloves and Silver Sluggers and all that, but I just don't think we're going to have time to go through all of that. But he is a stellar player. I really was hoping that Boston would try to finagle a way to trade for him at the deadline, but obviously the Cardinals were smart enough to not want to move off of him. And it looks like they are going to make a push.
Yeah.
I don't think they are a postseason team, but I don't think they are a World Series team yet.
Yeah, but definitely postseason with Goldschmidt and Arenado.
Yeah, absolutely. And you'll get to see Pujols and Yachty have one last ride. I think it would be crazy for them to make the World Series because of Pujols and Yachty being on their last run. I think that would be a great story for baseball, great for ratings and stuff like that. I don't think they're quite there. I can't put them over the top yet. But Freddie Freeman made the decision hard for me simply because of what he's doing. And he has been in the news, which, I think puts him more in the forefront of the writer's mind. So I think he will get some votes at least. He's hitting 320 this year. He does only have 15 home runs, but he's not typically a huge home run getter. Like that's just not his thing.
Plus he's playing for the best team in baseball.
He's playing for the best team in baseball. So he doesn't have to, because he knows it's not just about them. 72 RBIs, tied for 13th. OPS is 914. He is, he's up there. And I think that I think that it's going to be Goldschmidt, but I think we see Freddie get second or third.
I agree.
All right. So we've talked about our our theories for award winners across all of the. Hold on just a second, actually. 1 second. Sorry about that. My son decided to stand right next to my door and it was open. Okay. So before we wrap up tonight, I did want to, of course, Sunday night baseball, Boston did win the game.
3-0.
It was 3-0. As you said, Devers had the 2-run shot. Michael Wacha got the W. He is now 7-1 on the year. Talion took the L. Wacha's ERA this year is only a 2.44.
Yeah, but when you talk about Talon, that's what I'm talking about. A win-loss record doesn't matter that much. I mean, he pitched a great game, but he got the loss.
Right. Well, and he's 11-3 on the year. His ERA is only a 3.95. And like I said, you want your starter to be under 4. So he's where he needs to be. 108 strikeouts this year. His whip is 1.13. He's actually having a great season.
Mm-hmm.
But,
I think most former Pirate players are having great seasons.
Well, yeah, once you get out of Pittsburgh,
Cole.
things get a lot better for you.
Yeah.
And when you look at his stat line for tonight, he did give up all 3 runs, but he pitched 7 innings. He only gave up 6 hits, only the 1 home run.
So according to today's game, that's a quality start.
Exactly. Actually, you're right. That would qualify as a quality start. But because of the fact that he lost, he doesn't get the quality start.
Really?
I was going to say, I don't think you get a quality start if you lose.
That's not right. Of course, I'm a pitcher.
Well, yeah. I mean, you're speaking from. Hold on. Let's look. What does?
I think it's 6 innings with 3 earned runs, which is ridiculous because that's still a 4.5 ERA, which is not great. I think Bob Gibson would be rolling over in his grave right now.
Starting pitcher records a quality start when he pitches at least 6 innings and allows 3 earned runs or fewer. So I guess it doesn't. Okay, so yeah, he got a quality start.
And so did Wacha. So
imagine you do what you're supposed to do by your job definition in a quality outing, but you don't get a win. That's a prime reason why the win-loss record for pitchers. Now you can show me blown.
Of course, it can happen the other way too when you have the other way too when you have a terrible outing and you lose 11-10 and you win 11-10.
Exactly, because
it's kind of the reverse of that.
There. Right. Well, what makes it or you give up, let's say you give up 5 runs in 6 innings, or 5 or 6 innings, but your team is ahead 7-6 when you get pulled off the mound.
Right.
You're still getting the win.
Yep.
If your team wins it, you're like, when most of the reason you didn't lose that game was because their bullpen shut them down. Which Boston's bullpen has been stellar over the last week, which is, I think, one of the reasons we're starting to see them switch. That's just testament to the importance of your bullpen and pitching in general. It is still important in today's game, but I think I like the idea that we're changing how we look at the pitchers' stats.
Yeah, Schreiber has made a huge difference.
Absolutely. Diekman was good before he got traded. I liked Diekman. Mm-hmm. I thought he was decent. I would have preferred him as a bullpen. Austin Davis is getting better.
Whitlock is
absolutely getting. He got his 4th save of the year tonight.
Whitlock?
That was his 4th save of the year.
I'm still a little worried about them switching him back from starter to reliever.
He's in the bullpen now. I don't think he goes back to being a starter. And I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah,
because that's right where he needs to be. He needs to be a closer. He could be the next Riviera, Kimball, whatever. Like, They are known for what they do with 3 outs, or 3 to 6 outs, and that's the great thing about him is you can use him as a 6-out closer if you need to, because he can throw 80 pitches. You just don't want him to.
Right. Yeah, the combination of him with Houck, that's a pretty good duo right there at the end of the bullpen.
Houck is a great middle reliever.
He's got the great reliever temperament.
He does, and especially with Cutter Crawford coming out so well as a starter, I like the way that the bullpen is shaping up and the way the rotation is shaping up. I wish we had Sale, but obviously that's not going to happen now.
A boy can dream. A boy can dream, right?
You think Boston moves off of him in the offseason with all these issues?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he's under contract, so they still have to pay him regardless. The guy that's going to get them a lot of money back is they're not going to re-sign JD. JD is having an awful year, picking a bad time to do it. But he's like hitting well under 300, and he's only got 9 home runs at this point in the season. He's a 30 home run guy, 30-year home run guy.
He should be,
and 100 RBI year.
Yeah, he should be. Yeah, he's only got 9 home runs. He is hitting 279. He's hitting 279. So it is a down year for JD Martinez.
I heard him booed at Fenway the other day.
It's because, and I think what it comes down to for him, and the reason why we're seeing that is when you look at his numbers, he has been, where did it go? Of course, now you're not going to let me see his strikeouts. That's so dumb. Where did it go? Oh, there it is. Okay. 106 strikeouts this year across 99 games. So that means he's averaging just over a strikeout a game right now.
I believe. I've seen every one of them.
Yeah, that's the thing is, I mean, to have that many strikeouts and still be hitting 280 means it's either he's missing or he's getting on base.
Right.
But
some of the strikeouts are so bad that you count as 2 strikeouts when he swings at a pitch a foot outside.
A foot outside the zone, yeah. That's been the thing is his hitting this year has just been so, despite what the numbers say, like if you actually watch JD Martinez at the plate, he has not been himself this year. He has been inconsistent. And Boston, and especially for a DH, like your one job, you have one job. You come out of the bullpen, you come out of the dugout 4 to 5 times a game.
Hit the ball.
I mean, and even you can look at, and I almost kind of wonder with Hosmer, because you've got Cassis, you've got Bobby Dahlbeck. They're going to get some work in on them. Maybe they transition Hosmer to DH next year. He hit, but so in the trips that he went to Fenway with the Royals, because he didn't go to Fenway with the Padres. In his trips to Fenway with the Royals, he hit 354. And Hosmer is doing very, very well since being in Boston. His numbers are moving in the right direction.
Kind of odd that hitters like Fenway.
It's, well, I mean, if you look at it, what is that?
It's not odd at all. I was being sarcastic.
Say that right field wall is kind of close there, buddy.
The left field wall, you mean?
Or that left field wall is kind of close. You just have to be able to get it up.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason a left-hander, he should lead the league in doubles every year. I think Verdugo is starting to learn that.
He is. I think, honestly, I think Verdugo does lead the league in doubles next year.
Probably.
Because, I mean, all he has to do is just get it up there. He doesn't have to hit it over the wall. He just has to hit it in that top 25% so that it's going to take a second to come down and for them to get it. That's, a record-setting doubles year if he does.
Even JBJ had a whole bunch of doubles.
Well, of course he did. Because, JBJ can hit the ball wherever he wants, though.
Yeah.
He is one of those that is a prime example of directional hitting, which I think is something that is, especially with the shift going away, is kind of going to die out a little bit, depending on how they do it.
Well, I think the shift is going to go away because of directional hitting.
What do you mean?
I mean, if the hitters force you to play their normal position, they're going to. If they keep pulling the ball, I would shift too, even though I hate to shift. But I mean, if a left-handed hitter can't hit the ball to left field, I mean, that's ridiculous. You see the holes sometimes at third base.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could bunt the ball for a double.
Exactly. And I think that's where the hard part about the shift comes in is all these teams act like this was this game-changing thing, and there were too many people that just weren't paying attention to what exactly it leaves open. That's why I don't have a problem with banning the shift, is because, all right, you want to move everybody over to make it more difficult to me to get a contact hit and get on base hitting in the right field. Okay, I'm just going to hit it to the left side. As a hitter, you should be working, and obviously it's still hard because it's hard to control everything, especially in that quick of an instance that the whole pitch to hit exchange happens. But it's just like with the fact that it's that quick, it's all about those subtle movements with your wrist and being able to just point the bat how you want to go. It's in how you swing. And so, and also the timing of your swing. But it's possible for this, good hitters, the shift doesn't matter.
Can you imagine Tony Gwynn or the shift?
Oh my God.
He had like 700.
You could only you'd be able to try that one time.
Yeah.
And he'd be looking at the dugout and his manager going, really?
What are you thinking about?
You're going to get that for one game, and Tony Gwynn's going to hit 5 for 5 and a double and a triple, and you're like, oh, okay, so we're not going to shift against Tony Gwynn anymore.
Good thinking.
Oh my goodness, I could just imagine. I'm pretty sure Tony Gwynn would be insulted if somebody tried to do the shift against him.
Oh, definitely. After he got done laughing.
Exactly. He'd be like, really? That's next you're going to walk the batter in front of me to face me over them?
That's a prototypical. Come on, man.
Yeah. I mean, without question.
Come on, man.
All right, buddy. Okay. So before we wrap up, anything else you can think of that you wanted to talk about tonight, buddy?
Just a quick mention, Jbj signed with Toronto, which I think is great. I mean, I love Jbj. I think he's a great guy. I hope he does well up there. Although he did say, he felt bad about his offensive struggle, like it surprised him. You've never been a good offensive player. Should be no surprise that you're hitting 210. But
why
anyway,
do you think the Brewers were so willing to take Hunter Renfroe over JBJ?
Crazy.
They were probably, their front office was probably looking at each other when they were talking about that trade going, are they really going to do this?
Doing cartwheels.
Talk about a steal of a trade by Milwaukee. Getting a young guy in Hunter Renfroe for a busted ass bat in JBJ.
And he's not that young either. He's like 30 or something.
Yeah. 30, 31, 32, somewhere in there.
But I mean, for all of his poor offensive talent, he had a nice little 9-year career.
He did. And he's a very talented fielder. And I think sometimes people forget how hard that job is because of how much ground you have to cover, how much of a reaction you have to make in just a split second of time.
Plus, I mean, I've always said a run saved is as good as a run scored.
Absolutely. And he actually, there was a couple of years where he led the league, or he was up there in the league in runs saved.
Yep.
And that's one of your most important, outside of errors, that's one of the most important stats for your outfielders. At least in my opinion, those are what I'm looking at.
Absolutely.
Runs saved and errors. That's because a lot of people, when they think of that outfield position, they think it's mostly just catching fly balls. And you're right. 80% of the time, that's exactly what your job is. Catch a lazy fly. But guess what? The other 20% of the time is how you earn your paycheck.
Yep.
Are you catching the ball when you're supposed to? And are you catching the ball when you're not, when nobody thinks you will?
And he makes it look so easy.
He does. Absolutely, he does. And Toronto is one of those parks where the ball can fly.
Plus, they have plenty of offense. I don't think they're worried about their offense.
No,
they just want him for defensive purposes. Plus, he's got one of the best arms in baseball.
He does, and that's and I think the thing for Boston versus Toronto with this Boston, when they moved on from JBJ, it was because they could not afford to have the bottom two members of their batting average being down that low because of JBJ's inconsistency, because of the fact that yes, you have Xander doing well, you have Bogey doing well, Trevor Story's been injured. So now you're looking at the possibility of, when are you going to get him back? What are we going to do for the playoffs? Because that is a solid bat to be missing.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to,
and a solid glove too.
And a solid, exactly, a solid glove. And so by making that change to, kind of improve some of the other positions for batting average wise, going with better hitters like Hosmer and Pham, you end up with a
better 1 through 9.
A better 1 through 9, right?
Plus, I think Kike's coming back pretty soon.
Yeah, I did not think Kike would make it back this season, but it looks like he might make it back within the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, that should help.
That will be a surge to Boston's lineup.
Plus, he's a great clubhouse guy.
Yeah, great personality.
Yeah.
I really liked him when he was mic'd up on the earlier this year for that game. What was it? A Thursday night game. They had him mic'd up for half an inning or whatever it was.
Right.
Funny guy. Great personality. Knows what he's doing. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So that'll be great for Boston too, because then you can, start to rotate your outfield guys and you can save Kike's energy, get him back in the swing of things once he's back up, but save his energy. You don't have to play him every day because they still have a decent outfield right now. And work him back in and kind of rotate him. And then you also have somebody else that you can use as a DH to give JD a day off. Maybe he spends that time in the batting cages, getting back to his swing.
Or a leadoff guy.
Or a leadoff guy. Exactly. There's so many things that you can utilize for Boston once you have Kike Hernandez back. So it'll be good to see. Absolutely.
I think that win against the Orioles before the Yankee series was that could end up being a huge win.
I think it's going to be a turning point.
Yep.
I really do. I think it's going to be a turning point for Boston. And I think winning this series against the Yankees is the confidence booster that Boston needs as we start to play meaningful baseball.
Definitely.
All right, man. Well, it was a pleasure to have you this week. Craig, I know when you watch this later, we are thinking of you, buddy. For those of you that are watching afterward on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcast, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, and so on, thank you for your support. For those of you that are not, please connect with us on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Winter Meetings Podcast. We would love to be able to hear from you and get your thoughts on the state of baseball. You can also actually send us an email at the wintermeetingspodcast@gmail.com. I do check that once every couple of months, so I'll be happy to email you back when I see it. I'm kidding. I check it on a regular basis, and we would love to hear from you. We thank you for your support, and we will see you next week. You can catch me tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Eastern, on the Sports Report podcast YouTube channel, as we will be talking all things sports on Monday nights. And then again, Thursday night with my buddy Dan the Dick Warner on Sports Report After Dark on our new night, Thursday night, 10 Eastern. Definitely check that out as well. Thank you so much, everybody, for supporting us. We will see you next week right here on the Winter Meetings. Have a good night.
Thank you, Seven. Thank you, guys.